He created the universe. To him belong the heavens and the earth. The ever-living, he is the first. He's the owner of mercy. He sent his messengers.
Read Qur'an in the English language, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it on the BBC. Don't burn it, read it.
God. The God who created a whole world, the whole universe. So I think we're on the same plate then, aren't we?
I'm not too sure because you're Islamic and
Yes.
I've just been on a big demonstration against Islam.
Oh, really?
That's what I'm interested in.
Oh, right.
I want to learn.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Otherwise you're ignorant.
No, definitely, absolutely. Well, have a read. It just talks about God existing, who God is. Because if God's created us, all of us, then obviously He's the one we should look up to. He's the one we should listen to. Whether it's our morals, our values, ultimately. And that's what we need to try and determine.
So if everybody has a different God, yeah, does it really matter?
Well, that's the whole point. Can there be a different set of gods? If there were different gods, then what about the God who created the universe? They'll be fighting each other, just like we fight as human beings. Because tribalistic.
Fight. That's what
Well, we shouldn't be fighting, but we do.
Yeah.
This is the point. But if there is...
That's the point I was going to get.
This is the point, yeah.
Why do we need to fight?
We don't need to fight.
Yeah.
We don't need to fight.
If we all believe that there's a different God, so let us believe and then just let us believe. And then
Yes.
when we get there and we get to the next level or the next plateau or the next
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
then we will find out ourselves.
Well, this is the thing. We fight over different things. We fight over how we should have our economy. We fight over too much immigration. We fight over not enough law and order. Because we have different ways in which we think society should be organised and ordered. And ultimately, I think we all will agree that if there is a God, He's created the world, the universe, and He's all-knowing, all-powerful, which I think most would agree, surely God knows best. Yes? Then we need to determine, how do we know who this God is?
Is your God my God the same God?
Yes. Are you Christian background?
Yes.
Well, we believe that God sent prophets to all nations, all times. All the prophets, all the biblical prophets are the same prophets in the Quran. So all the prophets came with one message, talked about one omnipotent God, monotheism. Not about, a different God here, a different God there. It's one God. And this is what we believe. God sent prophets from Adam. He created Eve. And from them were many different people. All the people in the world today descend from Adam and Eve, okay? And God sent prophets to every single nation, calling them to worship God alone. Because if God is the one who protects us, the one who has given us life, who gives us the rain, He's the one we should be devoted to. He's the one who gives us our laws. So this is what Islam is. Islam is simply the final installment of the same message. So Jesus, we believe Jesus was a prophet of God. Moses was a prophet of God. And they came with the same message.
We're not here to hide anything. We're here to help you guys. We're here to help ourselves. So please do take a copy of the free Quran today. If you're interested in what's going on in America regarding the burning of the Quran.
No, I don't want that, mate. Right? Because that would tell you. That'll give me another shit Sharia law, wouldn't it?
Not really. We believe in the Muslim world, in a society where they adopt those values, where they see adultery as a huge crime. Do you know the conditions for adultery? The scholars say in Islam, which are the best people to understand Islam, they say it's impossible to get caught. So what the Quran even tells you, if you were to read it, it will say it's for deterrent. But the issue is the punishments do not stand alone. They stand on with a different value structure.
Right? I've not got a problem with you. I'll shake your hand, sir.
What's your name?
My name's Terry.
Okay, mine's
Right?
Hamza.
I'll shake your hand. Right? People like Anton Chowdhury, Bakri, his crowd, alienate me and you. Why can't moderate Muslims stand up against some of the preachings that goes on the East London Mosque? You know what goes on in there?
Well,
And certain other mosques.
Let me be very fair with
Dudley.
you. Yeah? I've been to East London Mosque. I've actually given a talk in East London Mosque.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know what kind of outreach they do to the wider community? Do you know there's Muslims in East London Mosque, actually feeding poor white middle class people as well?
Yes.
We're all together.
No, I appreciate
so we
that.
do good work.
Yes, I'm not saying you
sure.
don't.
You want
Join the English Defence League. Why not?
Why don't you join iERA?
I've never heard of it.
Well, you have now.
No, I've heard of it now. Right,
I
okay.
just want to make one final point. Yeah,
Listen, yeah, go on, your
See,
turn.
what we have to understand is the way someone who's not a Muslim and a Muslim, we would view things differently because of belief, right? Now what we say is this: instead of talking about the fruits of something, let's talk about where they come from, the roots. So a Muslim would say this: I'm a Muslim because I really believe God exists, and I have good rational reasons for that. Something can't come from nothing. Thank you, sir. We also believe that there's a need for revelation, because if we were to decide amongst ourselves, it would be chaos, for example. So if we know who God is, like a knocking on the door, God must tell us. So we say, well, therefore, there must be revelation. All we're humbly saying, in a humble way, that the Quran, we believe, is that revelation for certain reasonable reasons, not because of blind faith, because the Quran mentions things that was impossible to mention 1400 years ago. So we scratch our head and we say, 1 minute, mate, how can a desert Arab who's illiterate could have known about mountains having pegs? Only 30 years ago, geologists found out that mountains have pegs, and it's a thing called isostasis. It stabilizes the ground.
I
So Terry, the point is, so the point
I
is,
appreciate the things you're saying.
but this is the point, Terry. That's what we want to discuss. We want to say, this is who we believe. You don't have to become a Muslim, but then you'll be able to see things through our glasses. Do you see my point?
I know what you're saying, right? But don't think of me as a racist.
I don't.
Right? I'm English.
Do you know what I think of you?
Go on.
I think of you as the EDL,
Which means,
the English Defence League.
which means,
People who obviously are really upset at what's been happening in England, upset about 7/7. Do you know I have doctor
upset
friends?
none of
I have
that is the
doctor
reason
friends.
why I'm here today
Yeah,
at the US Embassy. But you know what I'm saying? I appreciate what you're doing.
Sure.
Okay? I've not got a problem with Muslims. I've not got a problem with Islam. I've got a problem with radical Islam, extremists. I've got a lot of issues with Sharia law. I've got especially the punishments dished out.
But you know we have to understand, I think, Terry, see, I mean, we can have this conversation till the cows come home, yeah?
We can.
But the most important thing to understand is sometimes the fruits can be easily judged. For example, Sharia law. You know Sharia law also includes that you have to feed your neighbour if they're hungry. Do you know Sharia law also includes...
But
that's my point.
It's the extreme parts of it.
But this is the point. Even some things that we see as extreme, when we read about them in a context with values and a certain model, we say, you know what, it's harsh, but you know, it's workable. This is why we have to start having a frank conversation.
But the thing, we live in the UK.
Yeah.
We live under the laws of the UK.
I totally appreciate that.
That should be enough.
Listen, Terry,
You can't have separate courts. You can't have separate courts for the Muslim community.
I give you another example, right? I used to be the project manager for the police IT organization.
Okay.
You know, if you get caught by the cops and they have this palm top and they sign it, it's called pen tip.
Okay.
I was the program office manager for that. So don't blame me.
It's your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. Yeah. Do you know the new passport with the chip in it?
Yeah. That's your fault.
I was a business analyst for that project. So the problem is,
That means you can fall out in a minute.
that would be the irony.
That's what they know everywhere over the world.
It's not because you're Muslim, it's because you've been working for the coppers, you pig. Very Terry.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care, God bless.
It's been a pleasure.
Right,
mate.
you take care, bye now.
Take care, mate. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. As you can see today, we've been giving out free copies of selected verses of the Quran. These verses were selected that do not require any scholar or tafsir or explanation with regards to the verses. Verses that jump out to the human being, to their fitrah, to their innate disposition, such as أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Do they not reflect within themselves? And as you know, it's September 11th. It was the day where people wanted to burn the Quran. That was cancelled, but we thought we would positively engage with the wider society and give them free copies of the Quran. So this is a positive day, and this is how Muslims should interact with the wider community. And it's very important that we engage in this way, as Allah says in the Quran, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika," call to the way of your Lord, to the way of your Lord, with beautiful preaching and hikmah. And inshallah, we believe that we shouldn't react to context, rather context should react to us. So if there's a problem and an issue with regards to the ummah, we would use the da'wah, the method of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to engage with the wider society. Because not only because it's an obligation and it's something positive practically and politically and socially, but also because it defines who we are. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La yu'minu ahadakum hatta yuhibbu li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi." You are not true believer unless you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And we know, according to the ulama, such as An-Nawawi and other narrations in Imam Ahmad, etc., it means your human brotherhood. We must love for what we love for ourselves for other people. Which means if we love Islam the most, because we know Iman is the only key to Jannah, Iman is the only thing that will prevent us from going to Jahannam, from hellfire, then the best thing to give is Islam to the wider community. And what better way than not to react to context, but allow the context to react to us. In other means, the burning of the Quran Day, we were here to distribute these Qurans and distribute information about Islam to the wider community. Brothers and sisters, get involved. This is how we should do dawah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.